Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Anaky Talks Football, where we talk about the recent happenings and sometimes we do include some news on in the world of football. This is the first time I'm doing this introduction, by the way, so it's probably going to get better as we keep going. So yeah, welcome back. We're going to talk about some very interesting topics today. Um, Napoli won the title yesterday, I believe. Antonio Conte, I think, a very underrated manager. I mean, he's been able to what's his career like? I think Chelsea, Juventus. Let's check that real quick as we do get into the video. Anyways, as we're doing that, let me know what you think about the topics. If you have some questions in chat, if you have some comments, let me know in the live chat. FGH first on the questions. We'll definitely get into those as the stream goes on. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the topics we will be discussing today. Um, I saw comments from yesterday's stream that the microphone was a little bit too low. So we've definitely looked into that, and hopefully we have fixed it and it is better now. I hope it is better now. It looks like it is. Yeah. I think we're good. I think we're Gucci in the Louis store. All right. So we will be switching over to FootMob to check to check some stats of Antonio Conte. Because again, as I said, I do think he is a very underrated manager. I mean, from what I'm seeing, he's been manager of Inter, Spurs, um, Juventus, Chelsea. I mean, obviously when he was in the Premier League, it was impressive. He's had an impressive career, and I think he's definitely gonna have to be up there as best manager um one of the best managers of our generation. I think he's definitely up there with managers like Pep. I think he's up there with managers like Ancelotti. I mean Tuchel is regarded as one of the best managers in the world. So I think Antonio Conte should be as well. I think the only competition he hasn't really had the best of luck in would be um European competition, the Champions League, the Europa League. I haven't really seen a lot of um he hasn't really seen a lot of success when it comes to that regard. So definitely one of those things he has to probably do next season. I mean, he did request I don't know if Fabrizio has that. I think we can just search Conte. Can we just search Conte here? Conte? No? Can search Conte on Fabrizio Romano's page. Yeah, I can. So I do believe he said something along the lines of he needs 100 to 200 million. Okay, I think Fabrizio didn't really talk about that, but I did see that somewhere. I don't know if it was a valid source, but he did say he needs to have a significant backing in the transfer window upcoming if he's going to stay at Napoli. And I think to be honest, for what he's been able to do at Napoli this season, he definitely should be getting the backing. I mean, with the type of players he had. I mean, keep in mind, Inter Milan, during the Champions League final, it's not that they've had a bad season. Atalanta, they've got some good players on their hands. So it hasn't, necessarily been a bad season for the other teams. I think the only team I'd say had a bad season was probably AC Milan. But yeah, the rest of the teams haven't had a bad season this this year. So it's very impressive what Antonio Conte has been able to do with limited and limited quality in the team. I mean, let's have a look at the Napoli team that he had to work with this season. I mean, Lukaku is a good striker, but he is no Victor Osimhen. And Politano, he's a good winger. He's decent. Raspadori, he's a good winger as well, but he's no Varaskelia. McTominay, I mean, McTominay has come in and I mean almost I mean, he's not. Okay. Oh, he is. He's not. He's not their top goal scorer. It is Lukaku with 14 goals. But McTominay coming in and getting 12 goals that season. He's definitely their player of the season and probably one of the best signings in Italian football this season. Very impressive what he's been able to go to Italy and do, and it proves to show that some players just do need um some players just do need the right environment. They need the right environment, the right managers to get themselves kicking and get themselves in the right headspace. Um, it's very impressive. It really is, and I think if he's able to get the right backing, if he's able to get the right backing and he's able to get the right players into the club, I mean, who's to say that he doesn't go into the Champions League next season and do what an Inter Milan has done? Because he does play a good brand of football. He's able to get results out of underperforming teams. I mean, when he even went to Chelsea, he didn't have the best team, in his disposal. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the players he had. I can't really get them into mind. think we can just search that up. Antonio Conte Chelsea team. I mean, I don't remember him having the best players in his team. Let's see if we can get some information on that. Um, I mean, he had Hazard, he had Diego Costa, Pedro. I mean, okay, those were some pretty good, some pretty good players in the team. But Chelsea team line up. I want to just see if I can get like the full team to just see. But yeah, I think even when he did went to Chelsea, although he had, I mean, Courtois. I mean, okay, to be honest, this was a pretty stacked team. I mean, Courtois in goal, Rudiger at the back. But keep in mind, apart from maybe Conte, Cesc Fabregas, Hazard, um, and Giroud, some of these players were not in their prime yet. Courtois was not the Courtois we're seeing today. Rudiger is not the Rudiger we're seeing today. So I would say, this was not the best team in England at the time. I would say that, but they did have some really good players. But that's besides the point, by the way. To go into a Chelsea team and go and win the title in the Premier League. I mean, winning the title in the Premier League is not that easy. It's not an easy task to do. And I think doing what he's done in Napoli with a, significantly lower quality team. I mean, he lost Victor Osimhen, he lost Varaskelia, and he was still, two talismans in the team. And he still went on to do what he did. Very impressive. I think looking at potential signings he could make next season, I think Garnacho would not be a bad idea. Garnacho would definitely not be a bad idea if he was to look for a player coming into the team. I really do think so. So yeah, we're just gonna have to look at what he's gonna do next season. Very, very impressive from Antonio Conte. I'll really be interested to see what he's gonna do in the Champions League next season. I think he's definitely gonna have to, at least make it to a quarterfinal. If he meets a big, a good team and gets knocked out, hey, it happens to the best of us. I mean, Barcelona, people were thinking they were going to win the Champions League, and here they are, not in the final, with Inter Milan beating them to that spot. So yeah, definitely an underrated season from Napoli. I mean, no one was even talking about Napoli this season. Once in a while, people talk about McTominay scoring goals because Manchester United always has to be in the news, and it's weird to see people still interested in talking about McTominay when he has left Manchester United and gone to Napoli and is doing wonderful stuff over there. So, next topic we want to be moving to is Trent. We're not going, in the order I'd really like to go in, but let's talk about Trent. I think there has been a little bit of a revisionism when it comes to Trent Alexander-Arnold's defending. I think people have kind of gone back and be like, I mean, I saw this post from Varaskelly. I think he was interviewed, and he did say, one of the toughest defenders he has faced was Trent. He's a very good player, and he says he can't really name a lot, but he choose his time from Paris against, and one of the hardest defenders he came up against was Trent. And I think I saw a post from, I don't know where I saw the post, but I saw a comment from Arnie Slot, talking about Trent, and his defensive game and um his effort levels in training. And I think it sort of felt like, he was trying to hint that Trent was not a hardworking player, and he was a little bit, he didn't put in that much effort when it came to defending. And it kind of felt like he was trying to throw him under the bus. And I think it's weird to see, because most people do say, I think that's the general thing in the world of football, that Trent is not a good defender. Trent Alexander-Arnold is not a good defender. And I think I've also had that notion about the English right back, that he's not the best defender when it comes to actually tracking back, being in the right positions at the right time. But I think it is due to a lack of effort from his end. I think people need to realize that Trent is not a traditional fullback. You know, Trent is not a traditional fullback, and you're hardly going to get a fullback that is going to be solid going forward and be good defensively. And I think, sorry, I gotta check something real quick. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, and I think people do forget that he is not a traditional fullback that is going to be, good at defending. He is a fullback that is crafted his game, focused his game around um going forward rather than staying back. As I was saying, you hardly get a defender that is, um, sorry, a fullback that is very solid defensively and solid going forward. I think off the top of my head, I can name one defender, and that's probably Reece James. And even with Reece James, he hardly does, he's hardly fit to be on the field to even be playing. But I think Reece James is the only complete fullback in the world of football. I think maybe Theo Hernandez, kind of does the Hakimi as well. I think now that I'm thinking about it, um, there are a lot of fullbacks that are decent going forward and coming back. But that's besides the point. I think in terms of going forward, Trent is one of the best, if not the best, in his position. I think Hakimi is good, but he's not on the level of Trent. I think Nuno Mendes is good, but I don't think he's on the level of Trent. I mean, Trent can he can create. Trent can definitely create chances from mostly anywhere on the pitch, and he has an eye for the creative side of the game. So I think people are a little bit harsh when it comes to Trent. I do understand that he's not the best when it comes to actually defending, but I think people do tend to be a little bit harsh on him, and I think coming to Real Madrid where the pressure is going to be higher, we're going to see a different trend. That's my opinion on the situation. I think we're going to see a different trend, and it's going to be surprising to some people because I have watched Trent's game. He does, have some defensive holes in his game, but he also has some benefits. When he is on his game defensively, he is actually pretty solid. So I really do think it is sad to see the discussions about Trent, and his defending. And yeah, I think there's just revisionism around the whole topic. So definitely something to keep an eye on when he does end up moving to Real Madrid. Next on the agenda, Florian Wirtz. I mean, Florian Wirtz to Liverpool. It is weird. it is weird because I think, I mean, it's a good signing for Liverpool, but I do suspect a little bit of confusion. I do have a little bit of confusion about the signing because they have a decent number of, I mean, the three starting midfielders are. My question is, who's going to be on the bench for Vert? Because Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Gravenberch are all starters. So is Szoboszlai going to be on the bench? And would he want to be on the bench? I think he's too good to be a bench player. So it's interesting to see uh, that Liverpool are the ones interested in Vert. I thought Real Madrid, to be honest, were the ones going to be interested in Vert with the whole Xabi Alonso thing. But it's looking like it's going to be Liverpool. And it's kind of weird. It is kind of weird see um, to see this link to Liverpool. But I guess there's nothing wrong. Strength in numbers. And if you can have Florian Wirtz starting and I suppose like coming from the bench, that is going to improve you quality wise and in terms of squad depth. So there's nothing really wrong with it, but I do think it's a weird one. I do think it's a weird one in terms of signing. So yeah, but we're definitely gonna have to see where this goes from here. I think Vert's a good signing. Whoever is gonna get him, Real Madrid, Liverpool, I think Vert is a wonderful signing. I mean, he's basically kind of like De Bruyne. He's kind of like De Bruyne, just with a little bit more flair to his game. But yeah, I think De Bruyne had flair when he was in Wolfsburg as well. So I think he's just a mini De Bruyne. Definitely not on De Bruyne's level yet, but he's definitely a mini De Bruyne. Can find a pass, can dribble through players, can find a goal as well. A set piece merchant. Yeah, he's definitely a good player for whoever is going to get him. And wouldn't mind seeing him in the Premier League. Although I am a Real Madrid fan, I do tend to watch a lot of Premier League games. The league is not necessarily the most interesting league out there when it comes to quality of players. So definitely will be interested to see um definitely will be interesting to see him in Liverpool. Definitely. I mean, we're speeding through the topics today. We're already 20 minutes in, and we're almost done with the topics that we're gonna speed in through today. But before we go on to Liam Delap, I'm gonna get into some of your questions and some of your comments and see if we can, you know, get some stuff out of the way. My live chat is absolutely vanished. Okay. That's definitely not what I want to see. Let's get our live chat back. Give me a second while I fix this live chat. I have noticed there's been a problem with YouTube, by the way, in terms of live streaming. Um, okay, show this, turn this off, restart this. I hope we can get this down. All right, I think I've got it down. I think I have got it down. Let me just move this over here instead. Love these stuff. All right, so let's get into the comments and the questions. So FGH says, Conte proves again why he's not. He's one of the elite. 3 clubs, 3 titles. Very interesting. I mean, as I said earlier in the stream, Conte definitely should be in that conversation of um one of the GOAT managers. He's been able to do it in the Premier League and he's been able to do it in the Serie A. And as you said, 3 clubs, 3 titles. And I mean, what he has been able to do with Liverpool is, not Liverpool, with Napoli, I think is a little bit more impressive than what he even did with Chelsea and Juventus, because those 2 teams were, you know, um, traditionally, big teams. Chelsea was a little bit big of a big team when he went there. Same with Juventus as well. So I think it's more impressive what he did with Napoli. But nevertheless, I think yeah, a um he is one of the GOAT managers. That McTominay bicycle kick to seal the Scudetto on Rio. Yeah, definitely. I mean, McTominay as well. Definitely player of the season for Napoli. Probably player of the season in Serie A, to be honest. I don't think I've seen a player in the Italian league do what McTominay was able to do in his first season, by the way. It's very impressive. And to think Manchester United let him go is really mind-boggling. But then again, it's not every player that stays in Manchester United that is going to do well. Look at Anthony in Real Betis. Betis. He was there. He was in United for 2 years. Didn't get to grasp with the Premier League. Moved to a different league, and he's one of the best players in La Liga at the moment, doing wonders for Betis. And I'm really interested to watch that um, Conference League final. That Betis versus Chelsea Conference League final, I think, is going to be very interesting. So I will be keeping my eye on that. Arthur Mel, another comment on Conte. Is Conte now the best Serie A manager of the last decade? That's interesting. Um, let's think about the Serie A managers in the last 10 years. I would say Allegri is up there. Um, I mean, was Conte was Conte a part of um was Conte in Serie A in the last decade? Let's have a look at Antonio Conte's uh let's have a look at Antonio Conte's past history. So, okay, okay, no. So he was in Inter at 2021. I don't think he won the league with Inter. I don't think he won the league with Inter. He did not. All right, okay, so we can see right here. 2014. Hmm, interesting, interesting. I mean, to be honest, looking at the fact that he was in, I mean, what? Okay, well, let's just search this up. You've actually brought up um a good search information. Who was that? Who brought up the question? Arthur Mel. Definitely, definitely a good question. Let's check that up. What position did Conte's Inter finish? What? What is this? Position did Conte's Conte's Inter finish? All right. Oh, he won the did he really won the league with Inter? That's news to me. I didn't even know that. Wow. Then that makes him the best. That definitely makes him the best manager in the last 10, if the best Italian manager in the last 10 years, and the best manager in the Serie A in the last 10 years, because he's been able to win the league with Juventus, win the league with Inter Milan, and win the league with Napoli. That is impressive. I mean, people really need to start putting more respect on Antonio Conte's name. I really do think so. He has been able to do wonders with the teams. I mean, apart from Tottenham, he has won the league with every team he has managed. He has won the league with Juventus. He has won the league with Chelsea. He has won the league with Inter, and has won the league with Napoli. I mean, that's wow. That's impressive. That is very impressive. I'm shocked I didn't have that in recent memory. That is impressive. Yeah, very very interesting to see. I mean, Arthur Mel, lovely question to bring into the chat. Definitely interesting. I mean, wow, that's news to me. That is news to me. All right, Arthur Mel again. Speaking on the Trent situation, are we too harsh on Trent compared to other attacking fullbacks? I think it's understandable. It's understandable the criticism I believe that Trent gets in terms of his defending, but I think you do make an interesting point in terms of, are we being too harsh on Trent in relation to other attacking fullbacks? I mean, Jeremy Frimpong is no He's no good defensive fullback. I mean, Liverpool fans are definitely going to see that Trent, as bad as Trent is defensively, Jeremy Frimpong is probably worse, but he is worse, but he might be better going forward, or he might provide a little bit more going forward that Trent probably wouldn't be providing. But I think, yeah, in relation to attacking fullbacks, it is in their name and it is in their job description, attacking fullbacks. They're not really going to be defensively sound, but I think people look at fullbacks like Nuno Mendes, Alex Balde, Jules Kunde, Carvajal, Hakimi. I mean, just to name a few. People look at these fullbacks and they see them going forward and tracking back and doing a good defensive job and expect Trent to do that. I think looking at Trent, he's not the most athletic when it comes to um, defensive players. He's not the most athletic. He doesn't have an athletic build as compared to a Hakimi, a Nuno Mendes, a Jules Kunde, Alex Balde, Carvajal, just to name a few. These fullbacks are athletic. They can bomb forward and they can track back. But you look at Trent, he doesn't even run that much. He's just walking around, moving around, placing balls, pinging balls to players. And I think that's his game. That's his game. So I think what Trent needs to do, I mean, I'm talking like I'm a professional footballer, but from my analysis and from my opinion, I think Trent just needs to play the game to his strengths. He needs to play his role to what he can do and what he can't do. So I think if you look at players like Tony Cruz doesn't run around the pitch. He stands in positions and distributes the ball to players around the field. And he's not, again, the most athletic player, but he does do his fair share of athleticism on the field when it comes to attacking and defending. So he does play to his strengths, and I do think Trent needs to play to his strengths. Again, it would be interesting to see how Xabi Alonso is going to get um, the most out of Trent at Real Madrid. I'm very interested to see how that goes for him. Frederick says if Verts really snubbed Bayern for Liverpool, that's massive. I think it would have been boring if Vert went from Leverkusen to Bayern Munich. I think that's the most generic transfer in the Bundesliga. A player does very well and they move from their team to Bayern Munich. That's a very generic transfer, and that's a very boring transfer in my opinion. I think the Premier League is more of a challenge. Liverpool is more of a challenge. They just won the league. They would try and retain that. So it would be very interesting to see how you know that goes forward. I think, yeah, most people who move from a team in the Bundesliga that they've done well in to Bayern Munich. I mean, no offense to them, but I do think that's a lazy move. That's a lazy transfer. You could move from that team to a team in a better league. So yeah, I think because Bayern have almost a 90% chance of winning the league every single season. I mean, with Ten Hag going to Bayer Leverkusen, I'm sure they're not expecting him to win the league. It would be a very good, first season if Ten Hag is able to even push for the league title in Leverkusen. So yeah, I think moving from a good Bundesliga side to join Bayern Munich, it is a lazy move. But yeah, to each their own. Darren Feen talks about the Delap dude. Okay, so we're gonna start talking about the Delap to Everton move with this comments from Darren Feen saying if Delap joins Everton, that's a serious show of intent from David Moyes. So Fabrizio Romano, I think this morning, broke the news that um, Everton are interested. So the post goes as follows: Everton have presented their project to Liam Delap in direct meeting with David Moyes involved. Face-to-face talks took place this week as Chelsea and Manchester United remain keen on the Ipswich striker. 30 million release clause available, and Everton would be ready to pay to offer an important salary. And to be to be neutral on this topic, to be um to be neutral on this topic, I think this is a good move for Liam Delap. I think the type of football Everton plays really suits a striker like Liam Delap. And as Darren Fiend was saying in the chat, I think if Delap, if Everton get this deal done, I think it does show a high level of intent from David Moyes, because this is a striker wanted by Manchester United and Chelsea. So for Everton to be going into that conversation, I think shows a very, very big intent from David Moyes, and he's looking to do something with Everton. I think people do forget that David Moyes and won a European title with West Ham. The West Ham that we're looking at right now, David Moyes, found a way to win a European title. Regardless of it being the Conference League, he still found a way to win a European title with West Ham. So I think he is not the best English manager out there, but he is one of the good ones in the Premier League. So I think if you can get a player like Liam Delap, it would, again, as Darren Fiend was saying, a a big show of intent from David Moyes. And to be honest with you, I think it will be a good move for Delap as well, because the amount of pressure in a Manchester United side and the amount of pressure in the Chelsea side, it is immense. I mean, look at Rasmus Højlund. He's probably going to get sold this summer, and he's just had 2 years at Manchester United, and he just turned 22 at Manchester. He has a lot of time. He has a lot of time to improve and actually be a good player. But the fans, the pressure is not going to allow him to develop. These teams are not teams where you go into the, starting 11, or you're bought into the team and the fans give you time to develop, especially at Manchester United. If the lab gets bought by Manchester United, the fans will be expecting him to put up double digits, double digit numbers in terms of goals at the end of next season. And if he doesn't do anything like that, there's going to be pressure. I mean, Ronaldo went to United and the fans were putting pressure on him. I mean, obviously he doesn't get moved by pressure, but even Ronaldo, was getting talked about when it comes to scoring goals or not scoring enough goals, and making some mistakes. Teams like Manchester United and Chelsea are pressure cookers of teams. Chelsea, they're trying to get a bounce back to glory, and to enter that team and be their starting striker at 22 for Liam Delap, I think would be a lot of pressure. And we've seen that. We've seen players go from, you know, the high of the highs to, thinking they're gonna make the next big move in their career, and they move to a big team, and all of a sudden their whole stock, comes plummeting down, and it's weird. It's very weird, because you would expect, when they move from one team where they've done well in to another team where they're expecting to take the next big step, you're gonna do better. But there is pressure. I mean, look at Endrick or Real Madrid. There is pressure on Endrick to perform, even though he's not the starting striker. Like Mbappe is the starting striker of Real Madrid, but people are still putting pressure on Endrick to perform, even though he's just what, 18, 19, he's a kid. He's still in his teens. He has potentially 10 years. I mean, 10 years is like the minimum. He has like potential 15 more years to make a name for himself in the world of football, but there's already mounting pressure on him to be the finished product. So people are people are less patient now than they used to be with the young players. And I think it's mainly because some managers and some teams have decided to go for only young players in terms of squad building, and they have only young players starting in the team. I mean, look at Manchester United, for example. They have Garnacho in the team, Ahmad in the team, Lenny Yoro in the team, Rasmus Højlund, Kobe Mainu. These are five players that are either in their early 20s or still in their teenage years. I mean, Lenny Yoro, I don't think Lenny Yoro is 20 years. I think he's like 19. And these players are expected to be the finished products. They're expected to be the fully developed player, and it doesn't make any sort of sense because they have to be nurtured. Not everyone is Lamine Yamal, and I think the emergence of players like Lamine Yamal, the emergence of players like Pedri, Bellingham, these players are actually close to the finished product at an early age. I mean, Lamine Yamal looks to be one of the best players in the world at just 17. Jude Bellingham was an exciting prospect at around 18, 19. And at 20 years of age, he's a starting midfielder for Real Madrid. So with players like this coming into the the world of football, you get people expecting their own young players to be putting up Lamine Yamal numbers, to be putting up Bellingham numbers. I mean, even Erling Haaland is you know an orchestrator of this mindset. I mean, Erling Haaland at 18, 19 was scoring what 30 goals a season. It's crazy. So people do expect their young players to be putting up these level of numbers, but I think people need to realize that not everyone is good. I mean, the funny thing is, even with Messi and Ronaldo at 17, they weren't doing what Lamine Yamal is doing. As crazy as that is to say, at 17, going to 18, I mean, no, 16, 17, because Lamine Yamal was doing this at 16. 16, 17, Ronaldo and Messi were not doing that. But they ended up being, the two best players the world of football has ever seen. So it takes time. It takes time for these players to, fully develop. Not everyone is going to be a superstar at 16, 17 and, maintain that. And the thing with Lamine Yamal, we're going very off topic from Liam Delap, but I'm trying to build a point here. The thing with Lamine Yamal is, can he keep this up? Because he has raised expectations for himself at 16, 17. Now he has 18, 19, 20s, and his 30s to keep that up. That's potentially 15 plus years of consistency that Lamine Yamal has to keep up. The thing with Ronaldo and Messi is they started their, amazing careers at 20s. In your early 20s, they started being, one of the best players in the world, and they didn't have, a lot of time to keep that consistency. They did end up keeping that consistency for a very long time, but they didn't have a lot of time to have to keep that consistency. Lamine Yamal has started at 16. He's going to have to keep that consistency till his late or early 30s. That's a lot. That's gonna be a lot. So it's not easy. It's not easy for young players to end up doing what they're doing. So my point with Liam Delap is, I think if he can go to an Everton and do what he was doing at Ipswich, I think it would be easier for him to do that, because there's Everton is less of a pressure cooker than Manchester United. If he goes to Manchester United, he's gonna be expected to hit the ground running. He's gonna be expected to score. I mean, at least 15 goals a season, and it's gonna be expected. As crazy as that sounds, it's gonna be expected. The fans are gonna be expecting him to score goals. Once he starts missing, chances, the fans are gonna be like, "Oh, he's shit. He's this. He's that." And his confidence is gonna get shot. And looking at Rasmus Højlund, I think Rasmus Højlund is a good striker. He has the qualities to be a good striker, but the pressure on that kid is immense. He went into a Manchester United side at 20 and was expected to be their starting striker. There was no evidence shown that Rasmus Højlund could be a starting striker for Manchester United. But he went into that team and everyone was expecting him to be a starting striker at 20 years of age. So it's crazy. I think Everton as non-glamorous as Everton is, as compared to a Manchester United and Chelsea. I mean, obviously, Manchester United is a more glamorous team than Chelsea. Chelsea are probably going to be in the Champions League next season, so they're going to be a glamorous team. As glamorous as these two teams are, I think for Liam Delap's development, Everton will probably be the better choice for him. But hey, to each your own. Maybe he wants to guess. Maybe he's a bag chaser. Maybe he's chasing the bag and he wants to go to Manchester United and or no, sorry, Manchester United or Chelsea to get the bag and to get the wages. He's more interested in getting the wages as compared to having a fruitful career. But then again, he could be those type of strikers that doesn't really matter the environment. They're gonna go to Manchester United and gonna go to a Chelsea and going to end up hitting um the ground running. But yeah, I think it's it is interesting. It is interesting. It's a breaking story, and I think we're gonna have to watch and see where this goes. So that's gonna be it for today. Actually, we've done well. I mean, 40 minutes. I think the young players rant took this stream to different topics, and ended up making the stream a lot longer than I expected it to be. But it was interesting. I mean, some great questions from Arthur Mel, Frederick, Darren Fiend in the chat. Definitely, had me thinking. Had me talking about some very interesting stuff. So yeah, Conte, I think, deserves his flowers. Very good manager, very underrated manager. Florian Wirtz to Liverpool, would be interesting to see him in the Premier League. Trent and his defensive abilities, I think he's gonna be a better player, and we're gonna see a different Trent at Real Madrid, and I would be very interested to see. And finally, Liam Delap to Everton, I believe would be a better move for his career as compared to moving to a glamorous pressure cooker that Manchester United and Chelsea are. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It has been a very interesting stream. I mean, I've learned a lot today, actually, that Antonio Conte won the league with Inter Milan. I'll definitely have to do my own personal research into that because I probably have forgotten. I think it was the Lukaku Lautaro Martinez year, but I'm starting to doubt that a little bit. But yeah, definitely interesting and some mind-boggling questions. If you're not watching this live, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer those questions or comments that you have in the comment section below. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and as always, any feedback from you guys will be greatly appreciated. Stay safe out there.